Yep.
Okay, good evening. This is the South Suburban chapter of Chicago Computer Society. And we are in the month of March. And we're gonna have a guest speaker tonight that is Judy Toulour of APCUG, and also another group in Southwest California. Judy tonight is going to be giving a presentation on backing up and why you should be backing up. I was hoping for maybe one or two other people, but maybe they'll come in later. We'll have to wait and see. Generally speaking, though, does anybody have any questions or problems that they want to discuss right at the moment and until Judy's ready? Oh, Judy. Having heard nobody else have a question or an issue, and Judy, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. I just got a pop-up for the first time in my life that says accident on CA 14 South. How about that? And before that, while you were talking before, I got a pop-up that said the rain stopped. I'm looking out, it lied. It's still raining. But it is 48. And you guys probably laugh at that, but I'm in Southern California, 35 miles northwest of Los Angeles.
47 degrees here.
It's what?
47 degrees here.
Okay, and that's at 7 o'clock. It's 48 at 5 o'clock here.
Yeah, and you don't want to know how warm it is out east.
He's up in Boston.
Yeah.
I hate when the Florida people come into the Wednesday workshops because Di Binder always has a scoop neck sleeveless tank top on. And I say, don't anybody tell me what, and they delight in telling me, well, it's this in Florida because, they think we're that. No, we haven't seen 70 in forever.
At some of our meetings, we have someone who lives in Hawaii.
Oh, no, that's not fair. That's not fair.
I don't want to interrupt you any further.
That's okay. When Don Singleton, Tim will remember him, he had a deadline for something. He always understood that Judy used the Hawaii time deadline. So I had time enough to actually get my act together and get in whatever he wanted. Worked for me. Okay. Here we go. How and why you need to back up. Everybody knows about it. Heck of a lot of people don't do it. This is brought to you by APCUG's Speakers Bureau, and it's a benefit of your $50 membership in the association. So this is World Backup Month as far as I'm concerned, but the actual backup day is March 31st. And they say, please do not be an April Fool. Be prepared. If you don't back up, start backing up on March 31st. Or if you only back up every once in a while, make sure you do it that day. And you are going to take the pledge as I solemnly swear to back up my important documents and precious memories on March 31st. I am also going to tell everybody in the world that I know about World Backup Day, because friends don't let friends go without a backup. And I guess that could be relatives too, if you happen to like those relatives. But everybody really needs to be backing up, and they go, nothing ever going to happen to me. Well, I've lost 2 hard drives, so that's not true. It does happen, and my son-in-law lost one that was 6 months old. So 40% of us don't back up, and we know we should. If I am in an in-person meeting with a whole bunch of people, and I say, if you are backing up, raise your hand. And it was so interesting because in one online meeting of an HOA in Arizona, The people on the right side of the auditorium all raised their hands, and the people on the left, they looked down or they looked over to the side like they're not going to meet my eye. And I just sat here and I thought that was so funny. And I thought, how in the world did everybody who back up sit together?
I'm not getting sound. Judy's muted.
I'm back. Some don't take the time to back up, but you need to think of data backup as one of those better safe than sorry precautions. Just like you lock your front door, you lock your car, you wear your seatbelt, and I imagine you can think of several other things that you do as a routine to keep your house safe, your car safe, your significant other safe, the whole 9 yards, kids, grandkids. Well, backing up is something we should also do. And it can help us avoid, like it says, the crushing feeling that comes with finding that, oh my gosh, everything is gone. I got a call from one of my son's best friend's wife, and I picked up the phone and, said hello. And she goes, Mrs. Tallur, in a little scared voice. And I said, what, Bree? And she said, I turned on my computer and all I got was a black screen. And the first thing out of my mouth was, do you back up? And she said, somebody gave me a backup drive for Christmas, and I've been meaning to call you to have you come over, set it up, and show me how to use it. They had 2 darling, blonde-haired, blue-eyed daughters. Oldest was 6. They lost every single picture of them. They ended up with only the pictures they had sent to friends and relatives of the first 6 years of the oldest one's life, etc. So it can be crushing. So do you have physical drive at this date? Well, do you hear grinding noises when you turn it on? Do you hear beeps? This is how I lost my 2 hard drives. I was turning on my computer at a desktop and I would hear it grind. And I thought, doesn't sound good to me. So I was a volunteer with the Southwest Tech Conference in San Diego for 23 years, chair for 21. And I called my strategy guy who had a tech business. I said, Jerry, I'm hearing grinding noises. He says, hey, Judy, turn your computer off, put the phone down by it and turn it back on. And the first words out of his mouth was, you need to get a new hard drive. Yours is dying. And I backed up forever. And if I didn't have a backup and the hard drive died, I would have had to cancel the conference and give the hotel back their money, the deposits and all this good kind of stuff. Well, no, we'd have to pay the deposits for the hotel, give the registrants their money back, cancel all the vendors that were coming. So thank goodness for backing up. That happened once, and a few years later, it happened again at the exact same time. And all I could think of is, why me? And I think Tim would say that any competent tech can tell what's happening with a hard drive that is grinding or with beeps. Each hard drive is specific to their I'm just about dead sounds. And now we have solid state drives. They have no moving parts. Oh my gosh, they're going to last longer, people think. And on one hand, people think they do. On the other hand, people say, who knows? But if it's, so you're not getting beeps, you're not getting anything. But if your computer takes a long time to save the files and you're, the little hour going around and around and around, you might think, possibly there's something wrong with my solid state drive. And if you have to restart often, or your computer crashes during boot, or you get the blue screen of death every once in a while, you might think, I need to find out if my solid state drive is on its way out. So, of course, if your hard drive fails, that's the most serious, because in my experience, you can't get anything back. I asked Bree to take her desktop down to a local tech shop that I trusted, and they found they could get absolutely zero. In the legal department, general counsel lost his hard drive, and I sent it to some place to get it fixed to see if it could get any data back. And oh my goodness, 15 plus years ago, it was $1,000. And we got 3 pieces of something back, and it had all of his former files on it. Not when he worked at the company, but his personal stuff and everything. And I thought, you think he would have known better. The bad guys, they can hack into your computer and they can pick information here, there, and everywhere. And they can put enough together to get your passwords and commit ID theft. I put a Windows 11 computer together for a friend of mine from when my kids were in elementary school. And she had on her hard drive passwords saved in Word. And she uses nursery rhymes, the first letter of all these nursery rhymes that she knows. So here was Costco, the password, here was there, the password. And down at the bottom of that was future nursery rhyme passwords that she could use, like past phrases. And I gave her back her thing. And I said, could you please rename your password file to something that doesn't say, hey, if somebody breaks in, you're going to want to take my password file. Or if somebody comes to her house and is working and she's got her computer on, oh gosh, let me, transfer all those passwords over to this flash drive here. Our computers can get viruses if we don't keep our security up to date. We don't have good security, whole 9 yards. And you all know about ransomware. It's designed to encrypt our files, and then they want a ransom. And we'll give you the decryption key. Oftentimes you do not get it. The FBI says, please don't pay. And the junior college, Los Angeles Junior College, and they have about 10 entities, so to speak. One of them could not start school one year because they had got hacked with ransomware, and they didn't have any access to any of the student data. They started 2 weeks after everybody else did. And that's kind of embarrassing. What was the IT department doing at that school that didn't match up to all of the others? And again, if you are using an external hard drive for backup, you need to have it unplugged from your computer, just in case you get ransomware. If it is plugged in, it's going to zip right across to your external hard drive and also infect that. So good backup strategy can make a big difference in your digital life and give you peace of mind. I truly believe that. So does the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA. And they say back up your data, your system images and configurations, and don't forget to test them. Every once in a while, when you are backing up your data, create a test document that's got rainbow colors or whatever, a really dumb name. And after your backup, your scheduled backup happens, go in and just make sure that document is there. You got some pictures that you have on your hard drive and they get backed up, double check. We don't trust anything these days. So trust that your backup is actually working. And if you need it, your stuff will be able to be restored. And you should keep at least one backup offline somewhere. So buzzwords, what backup? What is it? A copy of the data stored on your hard drive. External hard drive, well, that's what you connect with a USB cable and you're up and running. I've got 2 people in my group that wouldn't put anything in the cloud if you paid them, which I think is very interesting. But that you pay for it, it's kind of well, I'm somebody who just wants free stuff. Well, you have to decide if that's good enough for you, but I do pay for my cloud backup. And if you're into synchronization because you have a phone, a Mac, a Linux, a tablet, a PC, and you're going to synchronize your docs, you're going to use OneDrive, Google One, Dropbox, you're going to use something like that. So you'll hear somebody say, I'm going to make a full backup. Hello, I'm going to make a system image or a drive image. Everybody uses different terminology, and all that is a copy of every darn thing that you have got on your hard drive. It's got everything but the kitchen sink, your operating system, your boot files that say, hey, psst, This is what we're going to have to do before we load Windows. Got the drivers for everything that plugs into. It's got all the software that might have come with your computer, that stuff that you have downloaded, the whole 9 yards. If you have a hard drive failure or whatever, you can plug in a new hard drive and restore all the data and everything, and it looks just like it looked on the day that you did that full backup. Some people, Bob G, you've had him give a security presentation, I'm sure, and he has several computers, not anywhere near as many as Tim does, but a Saturday night, he gets out of the internet, he unplugs from that, plugs in his external hard drives, and does an image backup of every single one of his computers. When he gets up the next morning, it's all done, and he unplugs the external hard drive, reconnects to the internet, and he's good to go for another week. I personally back up every day. Data, this is what I do. Data, back up all my documents, photos, videos, music. That's what I'm interested in. I don't do system images because if I had something happen, I just go out and buy a new computer that had the latest operating system on it. I always felt I needed to do that because I taught tech classes to adults for 22 years. And every time Windows came out with a new OS, I figured I needed to have a clean copy of the latest one. But if you're buying a new computer, oh my gosh, it's raining really hard now. And we had some thunder, happy joy. Buying a new computer, you've got all the data that and it comes with an operating system. You just whip your data and everything over to your new hard drive and you're up and running. I don't have that many apps that I download. I have very few. So for me, it's no big deal for me to download those again. But some people have a ton and a half. So they're the ones who want to do an image backup for sure. Or they're going to spend their lives going out and downloading the latest version. And if they had paid for them, figuring out their serial numbers and all that good kind of stuff. So an incremental backup only backs up the changes that you made to new, altered, or updated files. It's usually performed on a regular basis, daily, that's mine, or weekly. This is the kind of backup I do. I don't want versions. I don't need anything. I just need what's new or what I've changed, what I've updated. If I have a document and I want to create a version, I want to change something, I just make it a -1 or a -2, and then I can decide which one I like best very easily. Differential, it's based on the most recent previous full data backup. And again, it captures the data that's been changed since your last full backup. And differential, only the data that is different is copied. I thought that was cute. And they're performed on a regular basis, however long you want to do it. And they're useful if you need a frequent backup, but a full backup is too time consuming, or you really don't have enough room for any more and you need to delete 1 or 2 that's on your external drive, or you need to go out and buy a new one. So these are the things that I back up: my desktop, my downloads, documents, music, pictures, videos. And I'm usually introduced as the alphabet ABC lady because I deal in reading readiness left to right and things alphabetically, but I also love numbers. The folders that I use most of all have a 1. And so when I'm, want to save something quickly that I don't know whether I'm going to keep it forever, so I don't want to put it in a folder, I'll put it in my working on folder. And if it didn't have that 1, I'd have to scroll, I'd have to go down to the W's and so on. So I love numbers. And in my GO, which is my Golden Oak school folder, the classes were all, again, in alphabetical order since everything. And so when I needed to start a new semester and I wanted to update a piece of a handout on something, everything was easy to find. And then you see my Bob G folder down there. So how many pictures do you take? Like Bree, do you want to lose your pictures? How important are they to you? Again, I have never been a picture taker, so, I have mine backed up in the cloud, but this is not a big deal for me, but for many people, they have a gazillion photos and would absolutely come unglued if they did not have them backed up. So these are the kind of things you need to think about. What in the world is important to me? And I love the 3-2-1 rule. It is extremely important. If you haven't heard of this before, you need 3 different copies of your files saved in 3 different drives or location. 1 copy, hard drive. You got your external hard drive and your cloud. And you need to have at least 1 copy backed up someplace else. In my case, I'm in the fire zone in my area, and the fire has burned the back of the house above me. When I evacuated, I turned my hill slope down sprinklers on and the one by the side of the house, and apparently that saved all the rest of the houses, and found out from the fire department you're not supposed to do that, but I really didn't care. But so I wouldn't be giving that extra hard drive to my neighbors across the street. I would be giving it to my kids who live in the center of Santa Clarita, where they don't have fires. And earthquake, that used to be a biggie here in California, and now it's really the fires are bad. Or a burglar who comes in and takes every single thing, your external hard drive, all your computers, the whole 9 yards, and you didn't think to have a cloud backup. So how do you choose what you want to use? Well, for me, it's ease of setup. I need to be able to natively know how to do it without having to read the instructions. It kind of has to make sense to me. And you might think, well, it's the cost for me. Or somebody might, I want it to be the fastest backup known to man. How secure is it going to be? If I'm in the cloud, how about the encryption and those kinds of things? Ability to restore and recover your data quickly if something happens, and your mobile and tablet apps to access your data. So you need to decide what is important to you, and then have a discussion at one of your meetings and ask, what is everybody using to back up? I'm clueless. I have no idea. You want to talk to the people who are doing it and are happy with what they are using and successful. But for me, I would say, how easy is it to set up? That's my number 1 question. So back in the day, you all remember back in the day, we used floppies and CDs and DVDs. Now we use external hard drives, we use third-party apps, the cloud, or again, if you need to synchronize because you have all these devices, you're going to use an app that does that for you, and you can use it as backup, and then it synchronizes too. So again, what do you need? External hard drive, plug one in and you're ready to go. Delete USB 3, don't get a 2 anyplace, I'm sure you wouldn't. And though I don't like Western Dig since it's not on my list, I love Toshiba's, and I just recommended 2 terabyte Toshiba to somebody, and it's $69 at Amazon. And as I tell people, don't, skimp. It needs to be bigger than your internal hard drive. If you have a terabyte like I have, and you have it almost full, you're going to want to get a 2 terabyte backup drive, for heaven's sakes. You can use the Windows 10 or 11 backup app if you want to. They come with the operating system. If you plan to attend our Wednesday workshop tomorrow, Bill James will be giving a demo on, he's going to give a PowerPoint presentation on using the Win 10 or 11 backup. Hey, it's free. It comes with the operating system. I have a Windows 10 because I don't like 11. And I'm using the old Windows 7, and it works just fine. And it's just really great. Or you're going to buy a third-party app or get one that is free. So OneDrive, cloud-based file storage, but it also syncs. If you do not sync and you are using Microsoft 365, you can say it's $70 a year to use 365, or it's $70 a year to have online cloud backup. I don't sync, so if I use that, it would just strictly be my backup that is there waiting for me. Bill James synchronizes, like I said, everything with the kitchen sink. And he uses OneDrive to start out with everything else that he uses to synchronize things. Cloud backup, Tom's Guide. A lot of people swear by Tom's Guide. He said iDrive was best, Backblaze was easiest. Acronis that has been around for 1,000 years, powerful and versatile. I use iDrive in Calabasas. It is a few valleys west of me. And it's $79.50 a year, but right now they are having 5 terabytes of cloud backup, $7.95 for the first year. They're always having a sale. Backblaze always gets good reviews, and it's $7 a month. And if you are a Acronis person, I hope you are still buying it from our folks there, ugr7.com, and you will get it for half price. Normally, Acronis Cyber Protect Home Office is $50. Gene and Linda sell it for $25. He has had several strokes, so he no longer offers tech support, but he does still offer it. Everything that they have in the Acronis line is half price. Here's another. PC Magazine thought iDrive was best. Gene's program was second. Never heard of SOS, but that's fine. Backblaze. Windows Central, when they reviewed them, it was iDrive, Acronis, and Backblaze. I wanted to see what Chat GPT could do with a backup presentation for me. And I used all of the topics in this one. This is a homegrown one. And I had 17 questions for the chat guy. And I sent it to Bill because he's all into ode to, you know, the tornadoes in Oklahoma and spring and all this kind of stuff. And it was interesting because Backblaze was brought up 2 times in that presentation. And the only thing that ChatGPT could not give me the answer to was the 30% of people who don't back up. And he said, I don't have up-to-date information on things like that. And his information, again, is up through 2021. So it would be interesting if when it gets up to 2023, he recommends different backup solutions. But it was quite comprehensive and interesting. And I gave it to my group this month. So this is what I get from iDrive. And I say that anybody that backs up to the cloud needs to get something like this. I get this email after it has backed up, and I back up daily, like at 5 o'clock. And I immediately get an email that tells me how, if it was successful, the whole 9 yards. And I think this is extremely important for somebody who is using cloud backup. And this would be kind of something that if I weren't using iDrive, I would make sure that I got some kind of confirmation on, yes, your backup worked, lady. So that's important to me. Bill uses Dropbox. That's part of his synchronization system. Well, he has 1.5 tons of Dropbox space, and it's one of the most $120 billed every year. But back in the early APCUG days, we all got a Dropbox account with, what was it, 5, whatever, storage. And we were encouraged to encourage other people we know to open Dropbox accounts. And with every person who joined and say, psst, Judy invited me, you got more space. Well, Bill went to that like you couldn't believe. I never used it, but he has a gazillion gigs of free, not free, but drop space in his Dropbox account. Most people that I know don't have anywhere near as much as he does. Google OneDrive, he uses that too. APCUG is soon to be getting a 2 terabyte storage on Google One. I don't know where all your group's information is, but we've had 2 people die unexpectedly. Both of them were officers, and with the first person, Jim Evans, he's had stuff somewhere on his computer before I found out about it. His computer was gone, and that we've never been able to get. And with David Williams, it's the same thing. I am still, and he's been gone for, oh shoot, over 2 years. I'm still working on trying to find a couple of things. John Kennedy can't find them. I can't find them. And, you know, he had them on his computer or someplace else or whatever. So it's critical for groups to have a central place, not on somebody's hard drive, where all their information is, the passwords for everything, your minutes, your treasurer's reports, everything that you need to legally keep because you are a 501c3. And we're going with 2 terabytes because we have used our workspace almost up, and we have to now start paying for it because we have the free nonprofit Google Workspace program. So you can back up with Windows 7. It still works if you have 10, doesn't work if you have 11, but it works if you have 10, and you can make an image backup. Works just great. No problem with that. And it might take a long time. Speed of your system might be slow. Hold on. Your hard disk might be old. And if you're backing up 1.5 tons, and this is another thing, if you are backing up to the cloud and it's going to be the first time, with iDrive, you can request an SSD drive. They will send it to you, no cost. You can back up at home to the SSD drive and then send it back to them, postage paid in a nice little box, and they will set up your account for you. And then you start backing up and you don't have to stay online for, I know somebody said, my computer was backing up for 24 hours when I went to a cloud backup. And I thought, oh Lord, how horrible is that? But look for something like that. If you are going to go with a cloud backup, see if they offer that service for you. So food for thought. You can use Windows 10 file history, works just fine. You can use Windows 11 file history. This is what Bill James is going to be giving us a complete presentation on. And on this one, you will get a copy of this presentation. And I have steps that you can do. And again, the Windows 7 works fine on my Windows 10. Of course, Microsoft wants you to be using the Windows 10 backup and the 11 backup. And that's why they changed things. I tried to set up my version of backing up on a Windows 11 for another person whose computer I set up. And I was about to pull my hair out. And then, Smarty Pants here finally got around to Googling it. And it said, oh, by the way, there's one thing that we don't include. So you really can't use the old Windows 7. Microsoft does want us to move on. And you choose which folders you're going to back up. Get rid of the ones with remove that you don't. And you're up and running. You set it and you forget it and it's done. You back up your bookmarks if you'd like to on all of your operating system or your browsers. You have it set up wonderfully, and all of a sudden something happens and you're wiped out. You might want to think about backing them up just in case. You do it in Edge. Everybody does it a little bit differently. Firefox, whichever browser you use, if these are important and you don't want to take a chance because you're paranoid that something might happen, back them up. Back up your phone. Why? Well, it might get stolen. Do you have important data on your phone? Oops, it's gone. Hey, sometimes it dies. It's been around for so long, and it did say people these days are keeping their smartphones longer than they have in the past. And I'm sure that's because everything is so expensive now. You want to buy an iPhone, it's going to be over $1,000. Again, the Samsung phones that people love, they're horribly expensive. The Pixel still has a smaller version, so to speak, that is, not a bad price. I've got people in my groups that have Motorola's that they bought at Costco, and they're happy campers because it costs less. But, the hardware is just too old and it dies. Gadgets have a life cycle, and all of a sudden you try to turn your phone on and oops, it doesn't work. And if you haven't set it to back up to iCloud or your Samsung, your Android, wherever, everything is gone. You can get a malicious attack. You can install your new operating system. You've set it up. What else do I need to download? You've forgotten what apps you have, the whole 9 yards. Or you accidentally delete files, or you delete some of your contacts, and everything you do, you cannot get them back for some reason. You've Googled the question, you've asked all your friends, you've asked your techie people, and they say, oh, so sorry. If you already store most of your data in your cloud-based storage services, well, that's what you should do, definitely, right off the bat. But if something happens, you might want to have a hard backup of your devices. It can be a pain if you have to start over from scratch. It is not fun at all, and it's time consuming. And like I said, you can't remember all the apps that you dearly love. I always tell people, if you send your computer in to get it fixed, or you take it someplace and you are somebody who has your icons on their desktop, most techie people don't do that anymore. Take a screenshot of your desktop, because you make sure that when it comes back, they haven't taken something off your desktop and you can't figure out what it is. So it takes a lot of time to download your apps. Like I said, are you going to remember them? All my favorite settings that I have set up, I have it set to all the health apps and the iPhone, and the screen print is large. I can do all these shortcuts and everything, but gone. So there's an Android backup tool that you can use. Connect your phone to your PC, launch the tool, off you go. Then you can restore it if you need to. Maybe you just want to send your pictures to your hard drive as a just in case, because then they're going to get backed up to your external drive. Same thing with your iPhone to your iCloud. Super simply how to do it, and you're off and running, and we're done. So the theory is you need to be backing up no matter what. Some way, somehow, that works for you. Has anybody other than me had hard drive failure? Can you too?
Not hard drive, SSD.
Oh, silently.
Yes, and it gave no warning.
You didn't get its corrupt area, so you can't?
Smart data were 99% good. All of a sudden, poof.
What kind was it?
It was a no-name OEM drive that came with my little PC. And it was a small one. It was 128 gig.
Oh, gosh.
It turns out its controller was Phison and their low-end controller.
My son-in-law also lost one. He was ASB director for the high school, and he's got the music, he's got the everything on it. And I had bought the computer for him in January, when there were sales, and I got paid back. Not always, but I got paid back for that. And he's going out to Cata Camp, where the ASB kids from Canada, the States, all over come to UC Santa Barbara to learn how to be, in ASB kids. And he says, oh, by the way, my hard drive is dying. He said, could you get it fixed for me? And I went, okay. And he had it 6 months. And it was an HP, and I called HP, and the lady said, oh, you've got one of those drives. Those have been failing all the time. We'll send you a new one. Send the old one back to us in a box. And my jaw dropped like that and thought, you got to be kidding. So the kid comes home. I said, here's your desktop. And oh, by the way, ask your IT guy at school to put this new hard drive in for you. But he had everything backed up. But I thought, she said everybody was happy. And I thought, you got to be kidding.
Yeah, it's a scary thing when a drive just suddenly goes out on you. Fortunately, I'm really religious about backing up, and I have an external enclosure with a second hard drive from a reliable manufacturer where I temporarily store my data as I create it.
And what are
It-
you using? to
It's
back
not
up?
quite, it's not quite Windows file history because I also use Linux. So I just manually copy.
Of the old, yeah, and you can do it that a lot. When we have been talking about this, the guy says, I just copy everything over to a flash drive, and I go, that's not what flash drives are for. And I thought, how much time must take him to do that? And where does he end up knowing who's on first, which one has what on it? So,
Yeah, it's much better having a full terabyte.
yes, I'm at a minimum, Now, what do you use to back up?
If I do a system backup, I will do it as an image, and I will, for Windows, let's keep with Windows, I will use Macrium Reflect, which used to be free, but as of the end of this year, it will not be. I decided it's worth paying for it.
Okay, we're having a Macrium Reflect presentation tomorrow. I've been dying for this because so many people at APCUG use it and swear by it. And of course, he's taking it off the free version that goes away. But if you look at their website, they have a bunch of words on it that you look at it and you go, why in the world would I ever want to buy this product? Because you're not going to get this, you're not going to get that. And oh, by the way, if this happens, it's not going to work anymore. And I'm thinking how to turn people off from spending the amount of money. And somebody said, well, you have to pay at our Linux one last Wednesday, they were talking about Macro Reflect, and somebody said, well, you have to pay for it every year. And I went,
Yeah.
And you don't, it's one time only.
Right
According to
now they have a perpetual license,
yes.
but there will not be a lifetime license starting with version 8.1, which I have.
Yeah. And it's amazing because are they shooting themselves in their foot as far as I'm concerned?
Not necessarily, because their competitors are also going over to subscriptions. EasyS has not done so yet, but they may do so.
You were reading my mind.
And yes, EasyS, yeah, they're a Chinese company, but they're okay as far as anyone knows.
If anybody likes Ask Leo Notenboom, he swears by it. He wrote a book about it a few years ago.
Yeah,
and
Leo.
Their go-to is Macrium Reflect.
Yeah, ask Leo. He has said he likes Macrium Reflect and he thinks EasyS is okay.
And he thinks Macrium, you should upgrade and pay.
Yeah, I do agree with him.
But I'm wondering because what was it last year when LastPass took some of their smartphone stuff out of the free version and put it in the $12 a year version, everybody left. I mean, these people from APCUG, you could just see them fleeing. They all went to Bitwarden and it transferred over perfectly. So I thought of that when Macrium Reflect, because that's a heck of a lot more than $12 a year.
Yeah, well, it depends on what you're used to. It depends on what you like.
Yeah.
Because the best backup is the one you will use.
For me, it's the easiest one. Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody, who else backs up and let us know what you're using?
Well, Macrium Reflect is what I started using years and years ago, and I got other people converted to it. I'm not happy about the change that's going on. I also tested for a while, way back when, EasyS to do backup. And that was a pretty good package at the time. I don't know if they have the idea of going to the subscription route that Macrium Reflect is doing. But because of my use of Linux, I'm also very familiar with CloneZilla. It works on Windows, but it's a command line. And I know a lot of Windows users do not want to touch the command line. But at the same time, too, you have a situation where there's now RescueZilla.
Oh,
Macrium Reflect, EasyS to do backup, CloneZilla and RescueZilla all have verification. Now in Macrium Reflect, for a long time until I saw a change in settings. You would click on the advanced button before proceeding with a backup, put a check mark in auto verify the image, and it would do it. As soon as the backup's done, it verifies. It's always been good as gold for me. I have never had one backup failure. Now with Clonezilla and RescueZilla, they have a verify, but you have to do your backup first, then you initiate the verify. And I don't particularly like that. I like Macro Reflex automatic.
Mhm.
About Clonezilla, you may have missed a screen because there is one where you choose to verify at the time that it is made. What I love about these programs is even with these large hard drives and SSDs we have today, 15 minutes and you're done.
Yes.
I generally speaking, I don't back up every machine. A lot of the machines are for me to learn on, both the hardware, the operating systems. I try out lots of different things. I have one machine that I'm going to change before too long. Normally, I agree with John Kennedy on not doing dual boot, but this machine's got two drives, two different versions of Windows, and a total of 11 Linux versions.
Good Lord.
And I'm going to change that probably to one Windows with virtual box or something similar to that for the future. But right now, it's just a learning module. It's just there to practice on, learn about that particular version of the operating system. Most of it doesn't get backed up. And only my critical systems get backed up, but my multiple machines, like right now, I'm running 3 just for this alone. I've got 2 others next to me and dozens of laptops galore within 8 feet of me.
Wow.
I got Windows 11. The machine I'm on right now is Windows 11 unsupported. It's an old machine.
Mm.
I have one laptop that has a copy of that. But outside of that, I have 2 machines with licensed Windows 11. I've got 10 up the wazoo. I've got Windows 8 offline. I got 7 offline and XP offline. And I actually have a copy of 98 I found on a hard drive I didn't even remember I had. We'll wait and see if I can get that running one of these days.
Okay, who else backs up and what do you use? And if you don't answer the question, we're all going to assume you don't back up.
I look at backup as insurance policy. How many of you do not have any insurance?
Oh, I'm going to add that to my slide under the where I didn't have anything where I wanted people to think about what they could fill in the blank.
Hey, I mean, there's life insurance, there's health insurance, your house, your car, a renter's insurance, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, give me
Hey,
a break, folks.
I've had my roof replaced twice, once in the 94 earthquake and once when the fire went by. Insurance.
Well, that's what a backup is.
Yep.
You never want it, but you're glad you got it.
Yeah, backup is also kind of like warranty. I got my SSD replaced, for example. But I had to use my backup to put everything back on it.
That is true. Okay, come on, you guys that are here. Does nobody else back up?
Use
Or-
Windows 7.
Very congratulations. I'm assuming you have a Windows 10 computer.
Yeah.
You notice I didn't assume you had a Windows 7, okay? I just given you
Oh,
for that.
The only thing I don't like about that is its age and there is no verification system.
Except
Yeah.
if you do like I do, you make something funny and check it out. But see,
That's
that's
the
what,
old manual way.
yeah, but that's what I get for my drive.
Yeah, I used to do the old manual way too, and that you take 3 tiny little files and 1 folder and see if you can restore them. If that works, the backup's probably okay.
Yeah.
And you hope.
For the best, with your fingers crossed,
Yeah.
and your toes. All right, I'm gonna ask again. Come on, Leonard, Melvin. Either one of you guys back up. Oh, no, Melvin said he is 7. I guess Larry doesn't, Leonard doesn't.
Well, you know, what I call backup, and I got this from a long time ago from coming to meetings. I got an external hard drive, and I just copy X number of folders to that. I replace the old folders, and I put the new one, you know, the new version, the updated versions on there, and whatever. Back in the day, I would back up using Windows 7 or 10 or whatever, you know. And then when you could try to restore it, it never done right. You know, and so you know, and I got this from Al, and he said, well, just get yourself a huge, you know, external hard drive and just copy the folders that you want over that, you know, like my pictures and my documents and stuff like that. And I'll do that. Now, if I were to lose all my files that, you know, like Windows, the whatever, I guess I can't restore those. The files the folders that are really important to me, I put them on the external, I just copy them to an external drive. And I do that about, I'm gonna say, about once a month and maybe a little longer, you know.
Very good. At least you're backing up and you're doing it your way.
Yeah.
Okay. You
And you know, the reason why I'm listening today, because I'm listening to all these different programs you have out there, and I've never tried them, but you're swearing by them, and even if I bought them, I'm wondering if it's really going to work, you know.
Well, you've got people here like Macri and Reflect. I mean, there's a gazillion people in the APCUG world that absolutely love it. Another one they use is Aomi Backer Upper. And it sounds really stupid, but a lot of people like that, and they like EasyUs, and mainly those 3 are free. But Macri and Reflect, $12.31, you're gonna have to pay for that. But because I call them user groupies, love things that are free. And if they get a discount, they want the discount to be no more than $19.99. That's the way it was at my tech conference. If they didn't care if the software cost $29.99, they wanted the discount to be no more than $19.99. And if it was, they never took advantage of the discounts that I ran, you know, gathered for them. We're a cheap bunch of people, and free is great.
You said Macrium. Can you spell that for me?
Macrium Reflect, MACRIUM, Reflect, REFLECT. And Bob is the one who can help you with that.
Oh, okay.
He can become your new best friend, okay?
I can help, Jim can help, several of us can help. And I will tell you, Macrium Reflect was the one reason why this 128 gigabyte SSD to me was expendable.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What I like about a system image, Leonard, is it saves my settings and my desktop and all these other things that I spend a long time trying to weed out things Microsoft wants to foist on me these days,
Okay.
like ads and things. Others don't mind the pop-ups every so often, the notifications. So it's your choice.
And Leonard, the other thing is, if you don't have an image backup, you lose all the settings. Okay, you can, if the computer still works, maybe you got to replace the drive, but then you have to reinstall Windows. You have to remember all your programs, download them and install them. Do all the settings on Windows, all the programs. Then you put a copy of your data back on, and you look at your watch and see 1 to 2 days lost.
Okay,
Whereas if you got a real backup program, you got backup images, you can restore those probably within an hour at most.
Yeah, and I don't want to make people too jealous about how quickly Linux restores.
Oh, stop.
Also too, Leonard, copying your files like that so you don't lose them, that part's fine. But you need image backups, and you have to have 3 generations. You understand the term generations.
okay,
You're 1, your children are 2, your grandchildren are 3. Okay, you got to have that as a minimum, and there are people that will go past 3. So you got to, and you do that on a separate drive. So you want to get another drive, or 2 or 3. It depends upon your characteristic, personality. And you would do an image backup once a month at least on one of those drives. You can take the most recent one and maybe give it to one of your kids that lives at least a block or more away, so that if a hurricane, flood, or a fire occurs,
okay,
odds are that's still intact.
okay.
Then the next month, you take another drive, you do a backup on it, exchange it with that one that you have off-site, and bring that one back to eventually recycle it. So you
Okay.
have these kind of things you gotta think of doing.
I think I know what you're saying, yeah.
Your data backup that you're doing is fine up to a point. But if you want to spend 1 to 2 days restoring your computer to an operating state to use your data, what good is it?
I know what you're saying, you know what I mean, you know.
Okay.
Yes,
I have another question for everybody. I would like to know when you get an update. So number one, when you first get your computer, do you go through every single Windows operating system setting like Bob does and Judy does, and change it and get rid of all the crap that you do, turn off all the things that go to Microsoft that we're not interested in, doing that? And then when you get a major update, do you go through it again? Because Microsoft often turns some of those back on. So
Yes.
it's a housekeeping task that you need to do. And I have so many people go, I have to do what? When I first turn on my computer, and I say, yes, you have to make it yours.
There's a lot of people, and I do tech support, that they just want to do whatever it is they do on their computer.
Right.
That's fine. They don't want to know a darn thing about maintaining it.
Right.
Yet at the same time, too, it's not like their car or their home where they will get a contractor or a service garage to maintain those other things. And yet they do not want to spend money with a computer tech to maintain their equipment for them. So you got to do it yourself. It's your machine. It's your responsibility.
There are third-party programs which can help consolidate a lot of the work of setting up Windows the way you want it. There are ones that involve privacy controls. There are ones that involve certain tweaks some people do. And there are very standard setups for each of these programs. And you just say, apply your standard settings. And it'll do a lot of this work for you. One of these is O&O Shut Up 10. O&O Shut Up 10. It's by a German company or a consortium of German companies.
It used to have its big deal with trying to stop Microsoft from updating from a version a person wanted to keep versus going to the next version of.
No, actually, there's a different program for that. Gibson Research has one that says in control.
Yeah, but O&O had it also,
Okay.
because I used it.
Yeah, they had it, but I don't think they're able to do that anymore, whereas the Gibson Research does work.
Well, everything changes, so that's why some things that work don't work anymore. But offhand, I also want to mention another tool that I recently have discovered. I think it's easier than playing with Microsoft God mode. It's called Winaero, Winaero. And one of its settings towards the bottom is turn off telemetry.
Yeah.
So, that's normally on, and you are giving them Microsoft feedback regardless of all your privacy settings. There's a lot of other settings in there that will add in things to a right click on an empty area on your desktop and give you tons of settings such as safe mode. How do you get 10 and 11 into safe mode, especially 11? That's a nightmare. I just, with the Winaero, I put up settings. I go in and right click on the desktop in a blank area. And I say, do the safe mode. And it'll turn on safe mode. It stays in safe mode until I go in and turn it off.
So anyway, these are setup things, but I think we're still asking people, what are you doing about backup?
Tom, are you doing any backup?
Can I ask you this? I'm still using Windows 10,
That's fine.
and my machine, I bet you at least once a week, then all you gotta do is push the button and we give you 11. And I'm still afraid of 11. I'm afraid that I'm gonna lose programs that I already got set up.
No, actually, I've been on 11 since before it was officially released as an insider, and I lost nothing. It's what the biggest deal is with 11 is its higher security ratings, requiring better hardware than most 10 systems are.
And there also are some interface changes, which some people find it difficult to get used to.
Yeah,
Leonard?
well, that's the look and feel. Look and feel totally changes.
Leonard, use 11 until it goes, 10 until it goes away.
Yeah.
Listening to you talk, you are not going to like the learning curve with using 11. I taught tech classes to adults for over 20 years, and 11 would be the worst and most difficult operating system to teach to people because it makes no sense. They gave some ordinary things, stupid words. They don't have ribbons that make drop down, at the whole 9 yards. It's a good for, and as far as I'm concerned, is for gamers and young people. And I think that the hardware manufacturers were not selling a lot of computers, so they asked Microsoft to come up with one that needed faster and better stuff. And that's my version. But anyway, stay with what you've got, kiddo, because it's perfectly all right. They're already working on 12. I'm hoping they get their sense together and make 12 a little bit more understandable. But I get a kick out of the fact that, they keep adding stuff. People have crabbed and complained about so much stuff missing that all of a sudden, with the next version, we're adding this, and this. People go, hooray. So stay with 10. Nothing will happen.
Well, you're good for 10 until sometime in 25. It's supposed to be October 25, but I hear some people say January, and I don't know where that came from.
October.
Pardon?
October.
Yeah, I know it's October, but I've actually heard people say January. But anyway,
that's like the guy who said there will never be another version.
But with 11, the biggest peeve from my standpoint, I understand they are trying to make old control panel disappear.
I love it.
That's why they have settings, but they keep almost every 6 months moving everything around, so you can't find it.
Wow. Okay,
And
you,
the only, option around that is you have to keep using their search feature, type in what you're looking for, and it'll take you to it.
Yeah.
okay,
And
So
other-
bottom line, stay with Windows 10.
okay, got you.
And once Windows 10 goes out of support, we may be able to persuade you to seg into certain distros of Linux that
Oh,
feel very Windows-like.
yes, which
Can I,
one
can I
is
ask you this?
it? Somebody
I
demoed
keep
and
getting-
it's like Windows.
Okay, I keep getting email on the Linux that you guys class as well, programs. Is it hard to learn Linux?
No,
The initial learning curve for many people is steep.
Yeah.
However, to get up and running and get the basic desktop and use your programs, it's easy. Updating your programs is really easy.
if you want, go out to YouTube, type in the search bar, Chicago Computer Society. You'll see an entry there, click on it, change the menu bar to playlist. You'll see each of our groups, and one of them happens to be, strangely, Linux, which is next Tuesday night. And if you take the last month's Linux meeting, that's a starting point. And I'm continuing that on, and I'm using some information from APCUG. I'm going over tons of stuff.
the
Judy?
one thing he should look at definitely is Bill James' Linux presentation, because when he did it, he's a Windows user he's a Windows insider, and he's a pure Windows user. He doesn't use other people's apps or anything. He uses a couple of Adobe things, and that is it. He doesn't change the configuration of stuff like I do. He's just appalled at what I do.
Mhm.
And he approached Linux on how does that equate to what I do in Windows? And he taught himself the Mac the exact same way. How does it work? And the fourth Wednesday in April, we're having a Mac presentation based on his questions to himself on, I do this in Windows, how do I do it in the Mac? And the way he did it, it made perfect sense. And I have been going to the Linux workshops since I started the Wednesday workshops since November of 2020. And it's amazing what I know. And you talk to these people who use it all the time. It's just an operating system for you and me. We're not going to customize it like they do because we don't care. We're going to use LibreOffice. It works the same as Word and Excel and all that good kind of stuff. And we're going to be happy campers. But if you hear people, true Linux people, they get all like this and convoluted and stuff. That's not for Leonard and Judy, because we just want to use it like we use Windows. And it's possible to do that. And there is a version out there that looks damn close to Windows.
There are a few.
Yeah, there's quite a few easy versions of Linux. There are people who will use Linux strictly graphical mode. Okay, now myself, Bob, and others may also do a lot of command line stuff, but that varies, and it's kind of like a backup because I started playing with Linux from a computer show in '95. But I had a terrible time for years until finally they started making some sense, and people started stop doing flaming. In other words, you'd ask other people on Linux stuff questions, and a lot of times they would give you a sarcastic remark back, or they would start flaming you.
Yeah, support for new people who are learning Linux has improved a lot over the years.
Absolutely.
So Leonard, you're going to stay with Windows 10. I know that.
Yes.
But if you ever do decide to dip your toes into Linux, you will find people who will welcome you and will welcome even the most elementary questions you would have.
And
That's
again,
what.
Leonard, you and I are never going to look at the terminal. We're not interested in that. That's for other people. We just want to use it as we use Windows 10 as our operating system. And that's all we want to do. That's all we want to learn. We don't want to learn all this other program stuff and things like this, because that's not what we're interested in.
Yeah, in defense of
I know.
command line in Windows, for example, there's a few things you can just type a couple of words or a little phrase into this white on black window, and it'll do stuff that otherwise in a GUI you're going click, 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 frame after frame after frame.
Now, can I ask you this? Remember now, I go back before Windows.
Right.
Oh, we all
And-
do.
Most
Yeah,
of us
yeah, well,
do.
yeah. What am I thinking about? Yeah. Is Linux like before Windows?
No.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Once upon a time, it was sort of DOS-like, but
Okay.
it isn't anymore. It isn't anymore.
Okay, that's what I'm.
Really, Linux has matured dramatically. Most items that you have probably have a Linux operating system, like Android on a smartphone, like Chrome OS on a Chromebook. You have cars with Linux operating systems in them these days. You have TVs with Linux operating systems in them. Your modem routers, primarily the router portion.
Okay.
All those 70 some odd % of all the servers you attach to when you're on the internet in your browser are Linux servers.
Yeah, circling back to using a GUI. What's going on underneath it, all this code that's running in the background, behind it, and inside of it, you don't want to see it. You don't care about it. You just care about, I want to use my device and I want to see what's happening with visual feedback.
Okay.
And that is exactly what you can get with Linux, just like you can with Mac, with Windows, with Android, with iOS, iPad.
And the thing is, I use in Windows 10 and 11 and 8 and 7 and XP a pretty fair amount of command line.
Mhm.
Why? Because some of the things that I can do as a tech only exist in the command line. There is no GUI. There's no GUI that you can execute. Now, WinArrow will give you something close to a GUI for doing, as an example, checking Windows for corrupt files. That's one thing that'll stop a lot of backup programs from doing a backup. It'll tell you it failed. And usually it's due to file corruption. And as soon as I see that, I just shut down the backup. I go into the command line. I do a simple command. It goes through. If it finds corruption, it corrects it all. And then I go back in and do my backup. And it goes through the backup and verification.
Mhm.
Done.
Bob, you are the only person I have ever heard mention Steve Gibson. Literally, in all of the people, I give presentations like crazy. He's in Orange County here, and 3 times I invited him to my meeting. Daylight savings time, we met on Sunday afternoon. Oh, crumb, daylight savings time started and he was an hour off. Another time, the traffic was horrible coming in from Orange County because we met in the afternoon, so he couldn't do it. And I can't remember the third one. I was so bummed. But, he is such a fantastic resource.
Yeah.
But You're the only person I have ever heard mention his name. And Mr. Tim, it is 6:15 and I need to get my act together. I'm going to see the Navy Chorus at one of our Performing Arts Center. Last Tuesday, it was the Glenn Miller Orchestra, which is absolutely incredibly wonderful. And this is one of the very few times that the Navy Chorus has been on tour. So come hell or high water or rain, because it says it's raining again, I am going. Enjoyed this. I hope you at least got one tiny little thing from my presentation, even if it was just she clicks her slides just fine.
Thank you very much, Judy. It was a great presentation, and I hope everybody got something out of it.
I do too. Just one thing is all I ask. Bob, nod your head. You learned one thing. Just nod.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye, you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you, Judy.
Offhand, and I'm not trying to sell the Linux net, but we have a number of CCS members. They're on the fence, Leonard, meaning I can't push them off into it to try it out. And in the last month's Linux video that's up on the YouTube site, I show two different ways of doing just a test version that doesn't mess with your Windows system at all.
Now,
Now,
this is you said go to YouTube and then go to,
yeah, you go to YouTube, you get your search bar up at the top from YouTube.
okay,
Type in there Chicago Computer Society.
okay,
That's what the group is.
exactly.
Then you'll see the top entry of Chicago Computer Society. Just click on it. Then you get a menu bar up at the top left area. Change it to playlist. You'll see
Okay, yeah, I
all
know.
5 groups.
Okay,
Then under each group, you'll see a highlight that says playlist. Click the playlist and you'll see every one of the recorded meetings out there. And you can go through that and waste the rest of your life looking at that.
Hey, Leonard.
yeah,
Hey, Leonard. If you got the email from for the meeting today, they actually have the link right in that email. If you look at,
I do have the email. That's how I got on today.
yeah, if you scroll down in there, the YouTube link is in there. It'll take you right there.
Okay, got you. Okay.
Yeah.
I normally go to YouTube to catch these because a lot of times I like even tonight, I had another Zoom meeting before I got you guys. It just ended at 7 o'clock rather than 9 like it normally do. Then I said, well, I immediately came to you guys, because I wanted to listen, But after the fact, because you guys will put this out on YouTube for us to watch, and I do that all the time. I'll watch it to see what you guys are doing, But I wanted to be involved in this because I wanted to know how to back up. Like,
Yeah.
I tell you, and you know what I'm doing to back up, but I know that it's not enough, but it's something, at least I'm taking the files that I think is crucial to me and I'm putting them on an external hard drive and I got them somewhere.
That part's good. Just keep that part up. You just have to add the real backup.
Exactly,
Okay.
Okay,
And
good.
most of the backup programs that are out there are pretty easy. And there are a number of free ones still, but like Bob brought up, the trend seems to be going in the direction of, instead of lifetime single purchase, they're doing subscription. And actually,
Exactly, that's what everybody's doing.
Acronis,
A lot of people are.
actually, in my opinion, has always been subscription, because they keep giving you a new version every year and you
Okay.
gotta buy the new version. That's
Yeah.
a subscription service.
Yeah, you get a big discount, but that's like subscribing at a certain rate.
Right.
But the one thing that I hope is that, Leonard, we have helped you, and that Tom and everybody else, we have helped you to understand more, and that our speaker has helped. I know I learned some things from her.
Well, yeah, well, I learn something every time I listen to you guys, a lot of them go over my head sometimes, you know, but I do leave with something, you know.
Always understand, even when something goes over your head, over time, you should start having the light bulb turn on.
And it does,
Might
and it does,
dim
and
at
it
the
does, you know.
beginning, but it'll get brighter and brighter.
Exactly, and that's what I do. You know, I'll say, oh yeah, I remember saying something, and I remember what they said. You know, I'll write down notes and I keep them, and I'll go back. You know, in the open. But I'm good.
Yeah,
You know, right now.
question, Tim, are we going to be able to get a copy of the notes from our speaker, or are we just going to have this video?
I'll be
She
honest,
said
I
she's
don't
gonna put
know
some
if
notes
she's
out
given-
there.
I don't know if she's given notes or not. Normally with APCUG, she does, but she didn't mention anything to me. I can't answer your question right now.
Okay,
Well, at the moment, have to rely on the video. If she does get anything across, I'll send everybody a copy of that. Anybody who wants to see the APCUG Wednesday workshop, you got an invite from Beata for the Wednesday meeting. You must register by tonight before you go to bed, period. All you got to do is click on the URL link that's in. What it does is you click on in the email message, the highlighted link. That'll open up a new tab. It's a simple form from Google that you fill out. You put in Chicago Computer Society as the group, not CCS or not CCS.org. You must spell out Chicago Computer Society. Number 2, you put in your first name. Number 3, you put in your last name. Number 4, give her your email address. On Wednesday morning, you will wake up and have your link. It's 11 o'clock Central Time for Bob. That's noon. But in either case, you got both. Generally speaking, they run anywhere between 2 and 3 hour meetings on the Wednesdays. Once a quarter, they have a Saturday meeting also. But that whole format has changed from what it used to be years ago. It's well worthwhile. The third Wednesday of the month, which was last week, was the Linux workshop. And this one is for backup day. I don't think they're going to have one the following week. If they do, I'm not aware of what it is yet. Last year they had one Mac group. And Larry, it might behoove you to keep watch of the announcements. They are talking about having another Mac presentation on a Wednesday workshop. And if you're not out, you can try and attend that one and learn more about Macs.
Thank you, Tim.
So generally speaking, APCUG, as long as we exist, we pay them an annual fee, and anybody that's a member of CCS can go out and join it. When you join, they want your name on the screen just the way you registered on that form for that meeting. If your name doesn't come up that way, right click on your image, and in the drop down box, usually I think it's the last one, it says rename, and it'll highlight your name as you have it on the screen and allow you to retype the name the way you registered. That's all they ask you for, because they always have handouts, and within 10 days of the meeting, they provide a copy of the video before it goes up and available on YouTube, which is a month later after the meeting. And to get that, they have to match up your screen name with the the name you put on the form. I don't know why Harry's coming in at this hour. Harry, I don't understand why you're so late. Technically, the meeting's almost over with. The presentation's already done and gone. You're gonna have to watch the video for that. But you can join in the discussion that's going on here. Do you do backups? Harry Nelson, you're muted.
Harry, did you move your clocks ahead last week?
Yeah, I had other things going on, that's all. I just thought I'd
Yeah,
see who showed up.
you'll have to go up and watch the video when I get it posted.
Okay.
It's
I know where
a
to,
good
I know where to look
presentation.
for it. I see that. I think there was a notice already on my phone about the video.
That's from APCUG. That's a different meeting. That's tomorrow at 11 o'clock. But if you haven't registered already, you must register before you go to bed tonight. So you have to bring up the APCUG announcement for tomorrow's meeting. Click on the link that's there. It'll bring up a new tab with a Google form. You must register the group you belong to. Spell out Chicago Computer Society, no abbreviation. Put your first name, last name, and your email contact address. Tomorrow morning, you'll see in your mailbox your invite, and that has the link to get into the meeting. It starts at 11 o'clock.
Won't make that one.
Okay, and you can, like I say, watch the YouTube video for CCS. She may be doing some of the stuff, but you'll have other presenters at their meetings. Most
Okay.
APCUG meetings are 2 or 3 presentations within the 2 to 3 hour span, but I've attended meetings that went as long as 2 hours, 50 minutes. They don't like to go quite that long, but it's not unusual for 2.5 hours. Depends a lot on Q&A from people. So, and that's one of the things. You got questions, ask them, for God's sakes. That they'll do their best to answer the questions, or somebody else in the audience, especially in APCUG. You have a nationwide audience. These are a lot of people with a lot of varying backgrounds and knowledge, and odds are you're going to get answers to any question you come up with. The Linux group, if you're into our CCS Linux group, or I encourage you to go to the CCS Linux workshop on Wednesdays, the 3rd Wednesday of the month. And it's an excellent resource. You've got usually anywhere between a minimum of 80 people. And at one meeting earlier this month, I think it was the 2nd week of the month, they had around 150 people.
Wow.
That's a lot of minds to pick if you got questions about stuff you hear. And that's the biggest key. I go through YouTube like crazy on stuff. I've got so many YouTube videos, I can't even get to all of them. But bottom line is, as I'm going through doing research on one topic, I see information on other things I'm interested in, and I pull them off into separate tabs. I don't like bookmarks. I lose things in bookmarks, and it frustrates the hell out of me. I keep windows open with tabs. I have extensions that'll put them to sleep and keep my system resources low as much as possible. For the more FYs that I create that go out by web until we get a website up, is on a Chromebook. It's an 8 gig i5 Chromebook. There is no standard backup on a Chromebook. I have some extension that allows me to get something close to a backup. But the main thing is, I may have as many as 64 or 5 windows open with, I've had over 2,000 tabs. And you can't do that on anything other than a Chromebook. And you still have to put everything to sleep that you're not actively on at the time. If you don't put it to sleep, the resources of memory are taken up, period. End of the argument.
Jim, I'm gonna go, man.
Okay, have a good time.
All right, I enjoyed the speaker.
Yeah, this is, I don't understand it. This is something that Al wouldn't do.
Well, we don't have to worry about that anymore.
I guess not.
Oh. All right, guys.
Take care, Larry.
All right. Good to see y'all.
Take care, Larry.
Matthew, Marvin, excuse me, Matthew. Marvin, have you been doing backups? I don't want to hear you. This is, silence is golden. Remember that rule from your childhood? I don't understand what your problem is. Have you checked the microphone on your Zoom in the bottom left? Well, I understand that part, but when you go down to the microphone, there's a little up caret. Just a minute, just a minute. There's an up caret. The bottom entry is your audio settings. That allows you to do a test of your speakers and a test of your microphone. Make sure the microphone is using the microphone in your webcam.
Yeah.
If it's not using that microphone, we can't hear you. Therefore, that's the best news. Bottom line, you're hurting yourself. You got to debug these things. It's not going to magically disappear, but it's usually a setting in the Zoom. You're not using, you're using your webcam camera, yes, but apparently you're not using your microphone from the webcam. Otherwise, it would pick up your voice. Just go to the Zoom setting for audio and do a test of the mic. What it says is when you click on test, you start speaking, and then it will stop after 20 seconds or so and play back what you said, if it heard what you said. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. I'm gonna try this.
I don't think we're going to see your Zoom settings. Oh, yeah, we do.
There it is. There it is.
Hey, I've done this before, at least once.
Okay.
Anyway, here's your audio settings. Here's test your speakers, and it plays a little tune. Do you hear it or not? It wants to know. But you come down to microphone. Here's the microphone for my webcam, and it has a down arrow, Marvin, and I can select whatever options are there. Once I've got that, I do a test of the mic, and I go recording 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Therefore, my microphone is working.
Yeah, we do not hear what Zoom is playing back to you, Tim.
No,
But I think that's a setting here. Hang on a minute. No, it should have given it to you, Ned, but maybe it's not playing it back. But generally speaking, it goes in, when you click test mic, it gives you a recording for about 10 to 20 seconds. So you speak into it a lot of things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Then it automatically switches to play and plays back what it heard. If it heard nothing, you're not connected to the mic.
Melvin, we see your microphone. Can you unmute it? There is at the lower left a microphone icon with a red line through it.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, we tried.
well, it could be that he is not connected to the microphone. That's what I'm trying to get across. And
Is
that's,
he using a desktop or a laptop?
laptop is built in. There's
Right.
the webcam and microphone.
Right. So we don't know whether he's using a
Right
laptop
next-
or.
If you
No, he says
see-
laptop.
if you see the camera little circle in the top part of your screen, it's in the edge at the top. There's 1 or 2 holes on the right and left side. That's the microphone.
Now, when you first sign in, I notice that mine pops up, gives me, asks if I want to use the audio and the video before it, when I first come on.
Yeah, but that's mostly speakers and your video, but it does not always activate the microphone. But
Yeah.
on that same one there, there's a on that notice, bottom line towards the left side, excuse me, there's a checkbox that will always join the meeting with the microphone
Right,
turned on.
yeah, yeah.
Well, then have you here's hang on a minute, Melvin. I'm gonna go back into sharing the screen again. And share. Oh, Melvin, you're killing me. Now, mind you, this is 11. I'm not on 10, but it works basically the same general way. I'm going to settings. Yours is straight up above the start button. And let's see here. Once this takes forever because the system's so loaded right now. Go to systems. And down here, way down is where they move troubleshooting from the update. You click on troubleshoot, click on other troubleshooters, and I can play audio. I can come down here for other ones like audio recording. That means you have to have a working microphone. If this doesn't work, your audio recording app, you would run this troubleshooter to see if it can figure out why and correct it. So audio recording in 10 and 11 is there. It works like a digital voice recorder. And if it cannot pick up your voice, then you really do have a hardware problem likely, or a driver problem. Driver problems are just as bad. And generally speaking, these are your troubleshooters in 11. It's very similar in 10. It gives you the ability to try and debug hardware issues. Anybody else got an idea that might be his particular?
He might go into where you got all the equipment, and if it's got that little yellow triangle, sometimes.
Oh, drivers. That's
Yeah,
good.
sure. Show him where to
Device,
get. Yeah,
yeah, device manager as
Yeah, right.
administrator.
right,
It may
Yeah.
show a yellow triangle.
right.
Now, I have to do this with a desktop icon. Ha ha ha. Nuts. Good old Windows hides things on me. I'm gonna have to activate this. I'm in standard modes, and you can't do the
Device manager.
device manager in standard mode. You've
You're
got to be
right.
administrator. So I have
Right.
desktop icons. Here's a device and disk manager, and I put those on myself on the standard desktop. And
Sometimes you have to delete that, tell it to delete it and then you add it back in.
no, well, yeah, for a driver, but here's what he's
there
talking
you go.
about. These
Right.
are drivers. These two down here have a yellow triangle. The other is a circle with a red exclamation point.
Yeah,
Red exclamation point means it's not working. With a yellow triangle, it may work, it may not work.
yeah.
It depends upon its stuff. But what you can do is, let's see here. I got other devices, unknown device. I love that.
Yeah.
You can right click, select properties. Once you got properties up, it tells you there's no driver are installed for this device, whatever it is. But otherwise, it will tell you it's working a-okay as far as it knows, or it has a problem and gives you an error code. You can come to this tab here that says driver, and you can say, okay, let's check for an update driver. You click on update. You either do a search or you've got one on your system already and you find where it's at, click on it, and it'll install from that. But otherwise, you do a search and it says it couldn't find one. That's very common, I find. But those are two. If you had something working and it's not working now, you may see this rollback driver. Click it and it will go back to the prior version of the driver that was working. Otherwise, you can disable a device, but more likely uninstall the device.
Yeah,
Then once you've uninstalled it, reboot your computer and see if it's working again. If,
Or you
Now,
can-
now just a
or
minute.
you could go back into system, can't
Wait,
you? And then
wait a
add
minute.
it back.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. When you uninstall a device, it leaves the device there. A restore brings the device driver back in automatically. However, when you click on uninstall the device, if I say uninstall, it will uninstall this. And that's it, because there was no driver. But if I pick on, hang on a minute here, let me get this back here. I gotta find something safe. I'll go with this one here. I'm gonna right click on it, get the properties. I'm gonna go to region, volume, drives. I'm gonna say uninstall. Now it's giving you warnings about doing this. I'm gonna uninstall. It's gone. Now, sometimes when it does do the uninstall, it will ask you another question. Do you want this permanently? In which case it totally removes from your computer that driver. Otherwise, when you restart the computer, it uses the driver it knew last and hopes that that solves the problem. And this is I brought up earlier in the meeting that Win Arrow. This is Win Arrow. And hang on a minute.
By the way, in chat, Melvin was saying something about the Geek Squad worked on his computer.
Well, that's a good reason to do a lawsuit. I have no faith in them. There are some good techs working for Geek Squad, but otherwise, half of the job that a Geek Squad person is doing is, besides your problem, they are there to sell you additional products and services.
Yep.
That's what they're there for. And if they don't get enough business from you, who knows if they'll do anything in the future. But out of this one here, it helps, but it's not perfect. There's behavior, ads and unwanted apps. And I usually have everything checked off. These two keep coming unchecked. I haven't figured out why yet. I'm not going to worry yet. But then I go down to, pardon me, several others down in here. And I'm looking for specific ones here right now to give you an idea of some of the things you can do that are, I consider, real important changes. Repair Windows image. I check that one. This does a DISM to repair your Windows system image. That's an important one. Another one is run as always visible. I have here safe mode. This one here, this will allow you to go in plain safe mode, which has no internet. Safe mode with networking, which means you have internet access, though your Wi-Fi may or may not work. You may need to have Ethernet set up. Safe mode with command prompt, I'm sure most of you won't touch, and then exit safe mode. And when you get into safe mode, you should be able to access Win Arrow. When you are totally through with safe mode, then you would exit safe mode. And when you restart the computer, it will come up normal operation. The other one that's real important is this one here, SFC, scan now. This one I have checked. What it does, look at my properties here. I'm gonna go into let's show more options. Okay, down here, can you see? Yeah, I can't. I'm gonna move that over. All right, I have repair my Windows image in here. I have display settings, personalization, safe mode. I can go into these safe modes by just clicking on one and restarting the computer, and I'm in safe mode. That's a hard thing to do in 10 anymore and 11. SFC, I can check with this utility the whether or not it found corrupt files. And I'll tell you, nearly every month I get one or more corrupt files, and SFC gets rid of it. If you get rid of it right away, it all disappears. If you don't do it frequent enough, you may have corrupt files that it cannot repair. DISM is your next best friend when that happens. And that's not a guarantee either, because it still may not repair all your corrupt files. If that doesn't happen, you have to do what's called an in-place upgrade. And I do that periodically anyhow. And an in-place upgrade will essentially create a new instance of Windows in your system. It will give you the ability to save all your files and settings before it actually does the work. So you lose nothing but some space, because it leaves your old Windows a fragment out on your drive. There are tools to eliminate that, starting with going into File Manager, go down to this PC, your C drive, right click on your C drive, and I know what's going to happen. I've got a bug in this system. I haven't been able to correct. My system will come back in a minute. But generally speaking, you click on properties. I have to do it a different way on this particular computer. I forgot about it while trying to tell you about it. But it's almost back, and I'll show you disk cleanup. And there's another way of running disk cleanup. Disk cleanup is built into Windows. All right, I'm going to bring up the file manager again. I'm going to get to my C drive. I highlight it. In this case here, I go up top to go to properties. This is now displaying my drive. It tells me I've got really a 250 gigabyte drive. I've got 68, almost 69 gigabytes free space. Here's disk cleanup. Click it. It'll start doing analysis. This is the lightweight version. Now, it gives you a lot of things. Anything that doesn't have 0 bytes, put a check mark in, but you don't have to here if you want to get rid of an old update. I mean, an upgrade, the debris that's left behind. So you do clean up the system. It's going to ask for your master password. And it's going to do another analysis. And when it's done with the analysis, I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to get rid of that. I don't need it right now. What it's doing is looking for all kinds of system trash. The first analysis got general trash that's accumulated in your system. This is now what you get up here. And the very first one in here says Windows Update Cleanup. I'm tying up right now 5 gigabytes plus just for that alone. Definitely put a check mark there. In Windows error reports, they're collected. I'm putting one in there. And I've got the other ones already check marked. I can recover 5.21 gigabytes by just clicking OK. And that's how you get rid of, without extra software. I know of other ways of doing the same thing with other pieces of software. Many of them I get free. I have lots of free stuff, very little paid software. And at the same time too, There are ways of doing this from a run command. The run command is hold down the Windows key, hit R, and you can key in. I don't remember the whole nomenclature. So, but it's something like DSK CLEA cleanup. And I think it's CPL, but odds are this won't work because I'm not remembering. Yeah, I'm not remembering all the syntax. But how do you find out what it is? Click browse. And what you want to do, and this is the hard way of doing it until you memorize it, is you go into your C drive, into Windows, down here, find System 32 folder. It's a lot, I grant you. Oops, didn't go down far enough. System 32, bring it on your desktop. Now you want to scroll down, and I'm going into the D's. Disk grade, snapshot, disk part. Some of these you don't want to mess with, but if they're an exe, they are an executable. And I'm trying to find the one I'm looking for. And of course, I'm not going to find it right now. Mostly because I'm looking for it. If I'm not looking for it, I'll find it right off the bat. At any rate, it gives you an idea. There's all kinds of tools Microsoft provides you with their operating system, but they don't always have a graphical interface. SFC is just starting to get, either through third-party, God mode, or something like that, the ability to run the utility without having to have a graphical interface. Because normally speaking, and I'm going to get out of that there, I normally right-click the start button, I bring up, this is called Terminal on 11, PowerShell or command line. And to do SFC, I just do in SFC space slash, oh, wait a minute. Not this again. This turkey. It periodically when Microsoft does an update, it turns off a service. That's what it did. So I got an alternate way of getting around that. It's a pain in the butt to do. Come on. Ooh, that's a first. No, I want PowerShell. Oh, good. Here we go. SFC. No, you're still, it's running the terminal again. Come on. I'll do a command prompt. How about if I spell it right? All right, command prompt. And I'm going to run it as an administrator.
Right.
Why? Because certain things require it. All right. Here's old command prompt. And SFC space slash SCANNOW. I'm going to press enter. Now this takes a little while to run. We're talking like 5-10 minutes, which is longer than we probably want to stick around for. But it when it gets done, it will tell me everything was A-OK, basically speaking, or B, it found corruption, but it was able to correct it all, or it found corruption and it could not correct everything. When it cannot correct everything, that's when you try DISM command. I do that through the command line myself. And when that doesn't work in correcting everything, then you have to have a copy of the current version of Windows you are running, which you get free from Microsoft, and have it on a flash drive. You have the flash drive in, you bring up File Explorer. It should you should be able to see the content of the flash drive, and the last entry is setup. Double click setup, and you're doing an in-place upgrade of the operating system currently on your system. However, it's backdated. So you get done with that saving, telling it, I want to save all my files and folders, etc. Don't lose anything. When you're all done with that, restart it. And then you have to go into Windows Update and get all the updates since that image was created. Images of the operating systems are not kept up to date. They are whatever the content of Windows or even Linux systems the day it was released. So after you reboot, you have to go in and check for updates. Get your updates in, everything should be hunky-dory. Good luck, Melvin, and good luck with Geek Squad. I don't find them worth a nickel. And apparently you don't have it either.
Now, there is something I'd like to share from my
ahead.
screen.
Go ahead.
You'll have to stop share, yeah. I just want to show a little thing about the sound issue. Are we seeing my screen and my desktop? Okay, do you see where my pointer is pointing at the sound speaker?
Yep.
And right click, troubleshoot sound problems, and you're right into the troubleshooter.
Right, yeah, that's an alternate way of getting into it, but that's for your speakers. It's not for your microphone. Use the microphone.
If you open up sound settings the same way, you can also get into input, which is microphone.
Yeah.
And you can do
Oh, they
various
finally
things.
added it. Jesus. It took
This
them
is
a month.
This is Windows 11. Windows 10, I think, also now works the same way if you have upgraded to 22H2.
Okay, like I said, they finally added it. This has been something that's been missing for so damn long, it's not even funny.
And just speak into your microphone and you can see it active. You can see how active it is.
Yeah.
If it's
If you
working.
see no activity,
If it's not
you need a
working,
hardware
then you have
driver.
output devices or input devices to troubleshoot.
Right, and if you don't see any sound activity on for the microphone, you're either got a driver problem or a hardware problem.
Well, you can run the troubleshooter. It'll probably tell you the same thing Tim just said.
Usually the troubleshooter doesn't tell you if you got a bad or missing driver. You
No,
have to
it
go
won't.
to the device driver management for that.
Yeah. Speaking of drivers, I did upgrade. I did a BIOS update in my PowerSpec PC. It turned itself into an Asus PC because I went straight to their website, and it put in a Realtek sound manager. And so now I'm managed both through Windows and through Realtek. So you may have to go to something like the Realtek Sound Manager.
By the way, and this is a sidebar, I don't, mostly between Bob and I and Wayne to some extent, Linux is dropping in lots of versions Pulse Audio. They've got a new audio system that works a hell of a lot better. I don't remember the name right now.
Yeah, there is an update to it, and Wayland is the video part of it, and I will probably think of it sometime and send it in an email.
Yeah, no,
No, I won't put it in an email, but
I know what you're talking
anyway,
about.
yes, there is a different sound management, and I think it actually manages sound and video. But that's just for Linux.
Right, and but Pulse Audio apparently had way too many problems. And so that's why they're switching over to this new audio and trying to make life a little easier.
Pipewire,
Pardon?
Pipewire.
Yeah, that's it.
Ubuntu will be using Pipewire in its next long-term stability release.
I think a lot of them will move to it besides Ubuntu.
Fedora already has support for it.
Mhm.
And Pipewire allows things like Jitsi Meet, which is a free open source Zoom-like thing, a meeting program. It allows it to work a whole lot better in Firefox and also in Chromium, either of those browsers.
Okay.
So there's a browser API that Google puts out, which is WebRTC. And that protocol works better with Pipewire than it does with Pulse Audio.
Good.
Because Pulse Audio, you have to split up the video and the audio. And that trick rarely works well in Linux. Yeah, I've got Pulse Audio controls coming out my ears in my Linuxes, and I won't need that as much with Pipewire.
Right. Anybody else got any questions, issues, whatever? Because it's already after 9.
Yeah,
Well, like I say, I already mentioned what happened with my BIOS update. By the way, I was doing the BIOS update because there are 2 new security flaws that affect TPM 2.0.
Yes. And
And
that's gonna require a lot of people, I think, to do BIOS upgrades whether they like it or not. But a BIOS upgrade is not the terror it used to be either.
No. That's all I've got.
Okay. Anybody got anything else?
no,
Okay, then I would say that it's time to call it a night. All right. Get that.
see you next Tuesday.
Why? Sounds like a threat.
No,
Yeah, meet me outside next Tuesday.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I will gladly pay you next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. All
Good
right.
night. Good night.
Have a good night.